This week in the field, my uncomfortable street photography adventure. Hey everybody, I'm Scott Davenport and welcome to In the Field. So it's episode 300, and 300 episodes. And with that celebration out of the way, I did something a little different for this episode. I got asked a few weeks ago, maybe 6 weeks, I'm not sure. Alan, a longtime watcher, friend of the show, asked me, what are you going to do for 300? What's going to be special about it? And I hadn't really thought of anything and kind of just turned that question around. Says, well, what do you think I should do? And he threw out a bunch of different ideas, but one that stuck was doing a type of photography I don't normally do. You know, I've talked about getting outside your comfort zone before, and this time around, I decided to do street photography. Something which was really scary for me, honestly. I'm not like safety scary, just unnerving. But I asked a couple of local friends here to help me out, and some Sony shooters, Michele and Spencer, and went out and did it. And so captured some footage along the way. It's a couple hours before this grand experiment, and I'm already jittery. I've been struggling with how to even define street photography. So right now, I've got about an hour and a half or so. I got down here earlier. I wanted to walk around a little bit, just get a feel for the place before I really bust out the camera and start using it. And the first thing I'm going to do is go get some coffee. It's the perfect thing to calm your nerves, right? So before going out into the streets, met up at a local pizza shop there and had myself some triangular-shaped courage slices, and was asking Spencer and Michele, well, what's the definition of street photography? Because I was actually kind of wrestling with that a little bit. And, they gave me their thoughts. And what I settled on were kind of three big rules for me. My overall definition ended up being candid moments of life, slice of life type thing, where if there are people in the shot, they're not necessarily aware that I'm taking a photo directly of them. They might know I'm around with a camera, but I'm not stopping people and asking, can I take your photo? That really wouldn't necessarily, it just wouldn't jive with my personality. One other main rule I had for myself is no photographs of homeless people. And that's for a couple of reasons. Mainly I'm not a journalist, and that's not something I'm documenting. And also, the photos end up being for me, not necessarily for anyone or anything else. If I were embarking on a project to shine a light on a problem or get help for a particular situation such as homelessness, that would be a different story. But I'm not setting out to do that, and so that was a kind of a boundary I wasn't going to cross. As some people, anybody that's in a position where it may not be the most dignified or you're vulnerable or so forth, I'm not going to enter that space. So those were the boundaries I put on myself before walking out into the streets. Oh, and for camera settings, I kept things very simple. Single camera body, and I had a single lens, a 50 millimeter 1.8. Shot wide open almost the whole time, and just let auto ISO do its thing. And it got dark pretty fast, so you want to have that very open aperture. I did at one point borrow a 28 millimeter just for a different feel from Michele, who was there. Graciously let me borrow her lens. But otherwise, that was really it. Just auto ISO, aperture priority, primarily wide open, and just let the camera do the rest of it. I did use the black and white creative mode, so I was seeing more shape and form as opposed to color. And I'm always capturing the raw, so if I want the color, I can always get it later. I captured a bit of footage while I was out there. I honestly spent more of my time just fretting and worrying. Well, what am I gonna point my camera at, and how are people going to react and so forth. So I'll share what I have here, and I have a variety of stills as well. So you're just gonna hear me talking over it and describing what I was doing. I started by really poking my camera in the shop fronts of various places. Candid photos of the restaurateurs getting ready for dinner hour, or people having a meal, or just what's going on inside a particular shop. As we wandered through some of the streets and alleys, I was looking for patterns and finding lines or just shadows and shapes and so forth. But I was really struggling. We're walking through some back alleys here, and I'll admit I'm struggling. I see plenty of lines and so forth, but the things that they're just not jumping out and catching my eyes. Shapes and forms are here, but it's just nothing that's grabbing my attention. I'm having some troubles. One idea I did have going into the shoot was to capture people walking across an intersection and being backlit by traffic. And so one of the ideas I had was a busy-ish crossway and getting people their feet just walking in front of the traffic and so forth. I kind of got that following some of my fellow photographers that are with me. The challenge became that San Diego is a pretty chill city, and even this neighborhood is even chiller. There wasn't incredibly busy intersections, although I pulled away one photo. I think it kind of captured the essence of what I was trying to do, and I'm pretty happy with that one. Now, the highlight for me by far was this place called the Cigar Cave. So we were wandering up this alley and bump into a guy named Alex. He just finished painting a mural, or at least the outline of a mural, for this place. And he invited us into the lounge to meet the owners, Emmy and Raul, who were incredibly warm and inviting. And Emmy gave us a tour of the place, and had several different rooms: billiard room, the humidor, the bar area, and even this outdoor patio type thing. And it all has this very 1920s film noir kind of prohibition type feel to it. I know those are different genres of things, but they all kind of mixed together. And it was just a really, really cool place. And I wouldn't have experienced that if I hadn't decided to try something different with my camera. Michele Spencer and I kind of wrapped up the evening, walking around a little bit more and just capturing some, tail end photos. I got one of an elderly couple getting ready to cross the street, and I thought it was very nice. They were, kind of shoulder embracing each other, and that was just a nice little moment. I was able to capture that one too. That felt good. So, am I ready to become a street photographer? Well, no, I'm not. And did I enjoy the experience? That's harder for me to characterize. I don't know if I'd use the word enjoy. I was still very jittery, and certainly things happening on the street don't speak to me the same way as a landscape or the ocean does. Where I have to work harder to find things that interest me to shoot. Certainly when I look at the photos afterwards, like, oh, that is kind of cool. That is kind of neat. And so am I glad that I did it? Absolutely. And that is really kind of the tip of the week, is to try something different with your camera. Get out of your comfort zone. And, I don't want to get too philosophical on you, but there's a physicist named John Archibald Wheeler, and he has this quote that I really like, and it's, "As the island of our knowledge grows, so does the shore of our ignorance." And I think that was very true for me. I learned a bunch of different things on this shoot. Everything from some technical stuff. For example, my thrifty 50mm lens has a dickens of a time trying to focus in low light. And if I really wanted to do this type of stuff seriously, got to get some better glass for it. But also that it wasn't as scary as I thought it was going to be. And there are things that I can point my camera at when I'm not in the epic landscape. And I can, still make good photographs without being, knee deep in the ocean. That's going to do it for this week's In the Field. I hope you've enjoyed it. And thanks for sticking with me all the way to episode 300. It feels pretty good. And I don't know when this will end. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. I don't have an end game in mind. As long as there's interest from you and I'm enjoying making the videos, then they're going to keep coming out. And if you've got questions, feel free to ask me. If you want to task me with something like Alan did for this episode, feel free to do so. I may or may not take on that challenge, but it's cool to get some feedback and to hear what's on your mind photographically. Well, until next time, my name's Scott Davenport.